3 years ago, a car accident took my hearing and changed my life forever. I had learned to live in silence, finding comfort in the rhythms of the world I could no longer hear. Yet recently, my doctor performed a procedure that restored my hearing miraculously, leaving me stunned and overjoyed. I decided to keep it a secret, planning to reveal the gift at my upcoming birthday party, a surprise for my daughter, Sophie, who had been my anchor during those silent years. But as the days drew closer, I began overhearing conversations I was never meant to hear, words filled with betrayal, resentment, and plans that chilled me to the bone. Suddenly, my secret was no longer just about my hearing. It became a tool to uncover truths that could change everything. The party would not just be a celebration, it would be a stage for revelations, confrontations, and hidden justice. My name is Lorraine Miller, and I'm 58 years old. 3 years ago, a car accident stole my hearing, plunging my life into a world of silence. At first, I felt lost, isolated, and disconnected from everything I had loved: the laughter of my daughter, the sound of ocean waves, even the rustling of leaves outside my window. Daily life became a series of visual cues, written notes, and painstakingly learned lip reading. The silence weighed heavily on me, a constant reminder of what I had lost. Yet over time, I adapted, discovering small joys in quiet routines and the calming predictability of my home. Still, a part of me longed for sound, the voice of my daughter, music, and the simple comfort of ordinary noise. The accident had changed everything, but it hadn't stolen my hope. Each day had become a carefully orchestrated routine. I timed my meals, walks, and chores to match the rhythm I imagined in my silent world. Visual signals and written notes replaced conversations, and I learned to anticipate sounds I could no longer hear. The world felt sharper in other ways: the colors of the sunrise, the sway of the trees, and Sophie's expressions when she spoke to me. I practiced reading lips endlessly, memorizing gestures and subtle facial movements. Though I had adapted, loneliness crept in at unexpected moments. Hearing the world was a memory, and silence had become both my refuge and my cage. Yet I clung to the hope that someday, some miracle might restore what I had lost. Until then, I relied on patience, observation, and the quiet strength I had developed over the years. Sophie, my 30-year-old daughter, had been my anchor during these silent years. Her visits were a balm to my isolation, and though I couldn't hear her voice, her presence, expressions, and gestures spoke volumes. She laughed, smiled, and shared moments of joy that I could see but not hear, bridging the silence in subtle ways. We developed our own language of signals, touches, and written notes, forming a quiet intimacy that deepened over time. Her concern was constant, and I could feel the love in every glance. Even in silence, our bond was unbreakable. Yet, as much as Sophie's visits comforted me, I longed to surprise her, to restore the conversations, laughter, and normalcy we had lost. I imagined the day I could hear her again, a moment I would treasure forever. The news arrived unexpectedly. Dr. Harris, my longtime physician, entered the room with a mixture of excitement and caution. "Lorraine," he said, "we've developed a procedure that can restore your hearing. I believe you're a perfect candidate." My heart raced. Could it be possible? 3 long years of silence, adaptation, and longing could finally end. The room seemed to spin as hope surged within me, overwhelming the fear I had built around another potential disappointment. I listened to his instructions through an interpreter, trying to grasp every detail. The possibility of hearing again after all this time was almost surreal. I felt both elation and apprehension, the chance to reclaim a fundamental part of my life, but also the unknown consequences of stepping back into a world I hadn't experienced in years. For several nights, I wrestled with doubt. Was I ready to hear again after 3 years of silence? Would the sounds be overwhelming, frightening, or distorted? The thought of returning to a world filled with noise both thrilled and terrified me. Yet the longing to hear my daughter's laughter, the ocean waves, and everyday sounds was stronger than my fear. After hours of reflection and encouragement from Sophie, who sensed my hesitation, I made the decision. I would undergo the procedure, embracing both hope and uncertainty. Courage filled me in a quiet, determined way. The choice felt monumental, a promise to myself that I would reclaim a piece of life that had been taken, and with it, the ability to reconnect with the world in ways I had almost forgotten. The day of the procedure was a mix of anxiety and anticipation. I lay on the medical table, bracing for the unknown, as Dr. Harris guided me through the steps. When it was over, I felt a strange, tingling sensation, and then, sound returned. At first, it was soft, overwhelming, and almost alien. I could hear the beeping of machines, whispers of the staff, and my own heartbeat in a way I hadn't in years. Tears streamed down my face as I listened, unfiltered and real, to the symphony of life around me. I could hear Sophie's voice as she entered, calling my name softly. Joy, disbelief, and gratitude collided, leaving me breathless. After 3 long years of silence, the world had returned in all its vibrant, sonic glory. Once I adjusted to my restored hearing, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Sophie had no idea, and I intended to keep it that way until my birthday party, a celebration I had quietly planned for weeks. I imagined her reaction, the surprise, and the laughter when I finally revealed that I could hear again. But in the days leading up to the party, I began to notice conversations I was never meant to hear, hints of resentment, secrets, and scheming that chilled me. Suddenly, my secret wasn't just about hearing anymore. It was a key to uncovering truths that could change everything. The stage for the party and the revelation was set, and the quiet suspense in the house grew with each passing day. After the procedure, each day felt like learning the world all over again. Lorraine practiced listening carefully, distinguishing subtle tones and sounds that had been foreign for 3 years. The rustle of leaves, the hum of the refrigerator, and distant bird calls filled her senses in ways that both delighted and overwhelmed her. Even ordinary conversations required focus. She had to adjust to the sheer intensity of sound. Yet there was also a thrill, a reminder that life had returned in full force. Each step, each sound, became a discovery, and Lorraine reveled in the new sensations while carefully keeping her hearing a secret. She knew that this secret would make her eventual birthday surprise unforgettable. But now, the world was speaking to her in ways she hadn't experienced in years, revealing subtleties she could never have imagined. Lorraine began taking daily walks with Sophie, outwardly enjoying the fresh air and scenery, but inwardly tuning into every word spoken around her. Shops, cafes, and park benches became opportunities to overhear hushed conversations and whispers that revealed dynamics she had never known. She caught snippets of dialogue, tones of resentment, and small grievances that were invisible to her before. The world of sound offered a hidden layer to human behavior, letting her notice subtleties in body language, voice inflection, and hidden intentions. Lorraine's heart raced each time she overheard something significant. She realized that her secret hearing wasn't just a personal joy, it was a window into truths she hadn't been aware of. Every day, the quiet patterns of betrayal and hidden emotions became clearer, setting the stage for careful observation and subtle strategy. One afternoon, Lorraine noticed Sophie speaking in hushed tones with two friends near the garden, laughing quietly and glancing toward her, as if testing what she could overhear. The words carried a tone of secrecy and mild frustration, revealing that Sophie had concerns about Lorraine's upcoming birthday celebration. Lorraine felt a pang of hurt mixed with curiosity. What were they saying that they assumed she couldn't hear? The casual laughter hid subtle resentment, small complaints, and perhaps even disappointment. Lorraine realized that her restored hearing gave her insight into emotions and intentions that had been invisible in silence. The hushed conversations felt like a window into an alternate world, one she had been unaware of for years, and it made her both anxious and determined to uncover the truth before the party. Over the next few days, Lorraine overheard more troubling hints. Sophie's friends discussing their own plans, expressing frustration, and making remarks about how Lorraine always does things her way. There was subtle criticism, hidden impatience, and even unspoken anger toward Lorraine herself. The realization stung. Her daughter, intentionally or not, had absorbed resentments she hadn't noticed before. Lorraine's mind raced, piecing together context and meaning from intonations, pauses, and word choice. These hidden resentments painted a complicated picture of relationships she thought she fully understood. Her restored hearing was no longer only a gift for joy, it was a tool for revelation. She could now observe, confirm, and carefully plan how to handle these truths at the right moment, ensuring the birthday surprise would also be a lesson in honesty, perception, and subtle empowerment. One evening, Lorraine quietly overheard Sophie and her friends making subtle plans that excluded her from certain birthday activities, assuming she couldn't hear. Words meant to keep her out of decisions, casual comments, and soft jokes carried an air of condescension. Lorraine's chest tightened as hurt and disbelief mingled with determination. This was more than mild resentment. It was a hidden attempt to manipulate or minimize her involvement. She realized that keeping her hearing a secret was no longer just about a fun surprise. It had become a way to uncover the truth and subtly recalibrate the family dynamics. Every whispered plan and subtle exclusion only strengthened her resolve to act thoughtfully, ensuring that when the time came, she could address the situation with grace, cleverness, and a quiet sense of justice. The more Lorraine listened, the more conflicted she felt. Curiosity battled with hurt and confusion. Why had these conversations occurred behind her back? What had Sophie and her friends assumed about her understanding? Each overheard word added another layer to a puzzle she had never realized existed. Lorraine began cataloging the tones, inflections, and topics she had heard, seeking patterns and clarity. She understood that while her restored hearing was a miraculous gift, it also revealed uncomfortable truths. She could now plan not only a joyful surprise, but also a strategic observation of intentions, ensuring that she would fully understand the situation before confronting anyone. Her mind worked quietly, plotting the perfect balance between revelation, subtle justice, and emotional empowerment. Lorraine spent hours considering how to confirm what she had overheard without revealing her secret. Every movement, every casual glance, and every conversation with Sophie became a test, carefully designed to gather evidence and observe reactions. She crafted small scenarios to see how her daughter and friends would respond, fine-tuning her understanding of intentions, resentments, and hidden dynamics. Her restored hearing was now a tool, giving her the power to navigate emotional currents that had previously gone unnoticed. By carefully planning and observing, Lorraine prepared herself to not only deliver a birthday surprise, but also to address hidden truths with subtlety, precision, and dignity. The coming days promised revelations, lessons, and empowerment, all set in motion by the gift she had longed for and now wielded wisely. Lorraine began carrying a small notebook everywhere, pretending to jot down grocery lists and reminders, while secretly documenting conversations she overheard. Every whispered word, laugh, and sigh was carefully noted, capturing subtle intentions that had previously gone unnoticed. She recorded not only what was said, but how it was said, the inflections, pauses, and body language accompanying each phrase. The world of sound now revealed layers of emotion and hidden motives she could never have imagined. Lorraine felt a strange thrill, like a detective quietly observing clues that others assumed she could not perceive. The knowledge empowered her, giving her insight into relationships, frustrations, and secrets. Each note brought clarity and strengthened her plan, allowing her to strategize for the birthday reveal without prematurely exposing her miraculous hearing. As the days passed, Lorraine began analyzing the conversations she had recorded, identifying recurring patterns in Sophie's speech and behavior. She noticed subtle cues when her daughter's friends tried to influence decisions or exclude her, and recognized repeated expressions of frustration and jealousy. Lorraine's mind worked like a puzzle, fitting together snippets of dialogue and gestures into a coherent picture of hidden intentions. The patterns revealed not only resentment, but also the personalities and priorities of those around her. Each insight sharpened her understanding of the emotional dynamics in her household, guiding her strategy for subtle intervention. The ability to detect patterns felt empowering. Her restored hearing had transformed from a personal miracle into a powerful tool for perception, patience, and clever planning. Lorraine began experimenting with small, subtle ways to test reactions without revealing her restored hearing. She responded to Sophie's comments with neutral gestures or mild expressions, watching closely for signs of discomfort or hidden truth. A raised eyebrow, a pause in speech, or a quick glance often spoke louder than words. Each interaction became a delicate test of character, revealing intentions and reactions she had never seen before. These experiments were careful and calculated. She never wanted to alarm or confront prematurely. The thrill of discovering hidden truths in real time, coupled with her secret advantage, gave her a sense of empowerment she hadn't felt in years. Every subtle reaction she observed further informed her plan for the birthday, ensuring that when the time came, she would act with precision and impact. Sophie's behavior began to shift as Lorraine quietly observed from a distance. Small hesitations, whispered comments, and subtle gestures toward friends indicated that she sensed something unusual. Lorraine noticed the tension in Sophie's posture, the quickened pace of speech, and the slight defensiveness in her tone, though she had no idea Lorraine could hear everything. Each subtle cue offered Lorraine insight into her daughter's emotions, giving her the upper hand in understanding motivations and expectations. She documented these behaviors carefully, adjusting her strategies accordingly. Observing without revealing herself became both a challenge and a delight, as she pieced together emotional patterns and prepared to orchestrate a moment of revelation that would surprise and educate simultaneously. Through her meticulous observations, Lorraine learned to differentiate between harmless whispers and potentially damaging secrets. Not all overheard conversations required intervention. Some were trivial, born of stress or minor misunderstandings. Others hinted at resentment, hidden exclusion, or manipulation that could affect her birthday and family dynamics. By analyzing tone, intention, and consistency, Lorraine created a mental map of who could be trusted, who required gentle confrontation, and who needed subtle correction. This careful categorization allowed her to plan interventions selectively, ensuring that her birthday reveal would not only be a joyful surprise, but also a lesson in honesty and boundaries. Each distinction strengthened her confidence, showing that patience and strategy could turn insight into quiet empowerment. Lorraine spent hours envisioning the birthday, imagining the sequence of events and the reactions she wanted to provoke. Every detail mattered: the timing of conversations, the placement of gifts, and the subtle clues that would lead Sophie to realize Lorraine could hear again. She rehearsed mental scripts, ensuring that her responses would be calm, measured, and impactful. The plan was designed to reveal the truth, expose hidden intentions, and teach a lesson without humiliation. Lorraine's strategy blended observation, timing, and subtle psychological insight. By anticipating reactions and arranging the environment carefully, she ensured the birthday would serve as both celebration and revelation. This preparation gave her a sense of control, purpose, and quiet excitement as the day approached. Finally, Lorraine focused on how to deliver subtle justice during the party. She envisioned how her daughter and friends would respond to small surprises, revelations, and cleverly orchestrated moments. Lorraine planned to use humor, calm authority, and the element of surprise to expose hidden resentments while maintaining dignity and warmth. Every tweak, from casual remarks to subtle gestures, was calculated to teach lessons in respect, awareness, and empathy. She wanted the birthday to be memorable, not only for celebration, but for quiet empowerment, a moment where insight, patience, and cleverness triumphed over secrecy and exclusion. Lorraine felt a thrilling anticipation, knowing that the culmination of her careful observations and planning would leave lasting impact while preserving joy and love. Lorraine meticulously arranged the decorations for her birthday party, each detail carefully chosen to create a cheerful yet controlled environment. Balloons floated gently, ribbons shimmered under the soft lighting, and the table was perfectly set with dishes, glasses, and silverware aligned to precise angles. She placed small surprises throughout the room, subtle notes, tiny tokens, and gifts that would pique curiosity without revealing her secret. Every visual and sensory element was designed to guide reactions and create a cinematic stage for the unfolding drama. Lorraine moved quietly, adjusting minor details and imagining Sophie's expressions when she noticed small oddities. The anticipation was almost unbearable, yet exhilarating. She knew that every preparation, every careful placement, and every hidden cue would contribute to the perfect reveal, blending celebration with subtle lessons in awareness, respect, and quiet empowerment. As the first guests arrived, the house filled with laughter, chatter, and the clinking of glasses. Lorraine observed each face carefully, noting subtle glances toward her, hushed whispers, and expressions that betrayed curiosity. Sophie, unaware that her mother could hear again, welcomed friends with her usual warmth, but Lorraine detected underlying tension in her words and body language. The room was alive with energy, yet Lorraine's heightened awareness allowed her to catch every nuance of conversation. She stayed mostly in the background, pretending to mingle lightly while focusing on the whispers and exchanges around her. Every comment, joke, and remark added to her understanding of the hidden dynamics. The stage was perfectly set: the guests' energy, Sophie's unguarded expressions, and the careful ambience all combined to create the ideal environment for the birthday surprises and revelations Lorraine had meticulously planned. Throughout the party, Lorraine quietly tuned in to whispered conversations between Sophie and her friends. Hushed tones, subtle sighs, and veiled complaints became pieces of a puzzle she could now assemble. She overheard comments about her habits, assumptions about the birthday arrangements, and hidden judgments about her personality. Lorraine remained calm, allowing herself to observe without revealing any reaction. Each whispered word confirmed suspicions she had formed during the previous days of quiet observation. Her restored hearing, once a private miracle, now gave her the power to fully understand relationships, intentions, and emotions that had been invisible before. The subtle revelations sharpened her awareness, allowing her to plan how to integrate these truths into the birthday in a way that would surprise, educate, and ultimately empower without causing unnecessary embarrassment. Lorraine began placing subtle surprises throughout the room, knowing exactly how each would affect Sophie and her friends. She added small, unexpected elements in the decorations, subtly altered flavors in snacks and beverages, and arranged tiny hints to guide curiosity. The surprises were designed to provoke mild confusion, amusement, and eventual realization without causing harm. Lorraine moved gracefully, observing the reactions to each tiny tweak, noting how Sophie's expressions shifted, how guests whispered in speculation, and how tension mingled with delight. Each planted element became part of a larger tapestry, building anticipation and leading toward the climactic revelation. The careful orchestration of environment, timing, and observation ensured that the birthday would not only celebrate her life, but also teach lessons in humility, awareness, and subtle empowerment. As Sophie began interacting with the surprises, Lorraine noticed subtle changes in her demeanor. The initial confusion gave way to curiosity, small smiles, and tentative glances toward her mother. Sophie's gestures, the way she leaned closer to whisper, and the quick, almost imperceptible adjustments in her tone all indicated a growing awareness that something was amiss. Lorraine stayed composed, watching intently while silently cataloging every reaction. Her careful planning was paying off. The birthday surprises had captured attention and initiated subtle reflection. She realized that Sophie was beginning to piece together the truth, yet had not fully understood the depth of her mother's restored hearing. Lorraine's satisfaction grew, knowing the final revelation would be both dramatic and enlightening, leaving a lasting impression without the need for confrontation or anger. The room's atmosphere shifted as small secrets and subtle surprises converged. Guests whispered speculatively, Sophie's expressions grew more uncertain, and the tension became palpable. Lorraine could hear every nuance, every intake of breath, and every suppressed chuckle. She remained poised, aware that the crescendo of the evening was approaching. The revelations she had orchestrated were carefully exposing hidden resentments, unspoken assumptions, and the true dynamics among her daughter and friends. The tension was cinematic, almost tangible, like the quiet moments before a storm breaks. Lorraine's anticipation intensified, knowing that the final moments would deliver insight, clarity, and empowerment. The birthday, once meant as a simple celebration, had transformed into a stage for truth, reflection, and subtle justice. Finally, Lorraine allowed subtle confrontations to surface. She calmly responded to whispered remarks, gently addressing assumptions and hidden frustrations without revealing the full extent of her restored hearing. Sophie's realization came slowly, her expressions shifting from confusion to shock, then to admiration as she understood her mother had been listening all along. Guests murmured in curiosity and amusement, sensing the clever orchestration behind every small detail. Lorraine's interventions were precise. She revealed truths without anger, corrected misconceptions without humiliation, and guided the party toward understanding, respect, and empowerment. The culmination of careful observation, planning, and subtle strategy created a memorable climax, blending joy, revelation, and cinematic satisfaction. By the end, the party had become not only a celebration, but a transformative moment for everyone present. If you want to see how Lorraine finally reveals her secret and teaches a lesson everyone will never forget, make sure to like this video and subscribe. The best part is about to happen. As the final hints and subtle surprises unfolded, Sophie's expression changed from casual amusement to sharp realization. The whispers, jokes, and small missteps she assumed were unnoticed suddenly made sense. Her eyes widened and she froze for a moment, taking in the truth. Her mother could hear everything. Lorraine observed calmly, seeing the shock, guilt, and embarrassment cross Sophie's face. The room seemed to pause, every guest sensing the shift in energy. This revelation was powerful, not accusatory, not dramatic, but undeniable. Lorraine's careful planning had ensured the moment would arrive naturally, allowing Sophie to recognize both the gift of hearing restored and the wisdom her mother had quietly gathered. The shock was softened by curiosity, leaving a perfect opening for subtle guidance and lessons in humility. Lorraine approached the moment with composure, her voice steady yet firm. She addressed the subtle betrayals and hidden resentments she had overheard, choosing words that illuminated the truth without confrontation or anger. "Sophie," she said gently, "I've heard things you never expected me to, and it's clear there were feelings left unspoken." The calmness in her tone softened the sting of exposure while reinforcing the seriousness of her observations. Guests watched quietly, sensing the delicate balance of empowerment and dignity. Lorraine's strategy was flawless. She acknowledged the hurt caused by secrecy and resentment while maintaining control over the narrative. Her approach encouraged reflection rather than defensiveness, guiding Sophie to recognize her missteps, reassess assumptions, and consider the importance of honesty and awareness in family dynamics. Gradually, the truth unfolded. Lorraine revealed specific situations, small comments, and subtle manipulations she had overheard over the previous days. Sophie's friends, initially nervous, understood that their casual remarks had been noticed, and some flushed with embarrassment. Each revelation was precise, factual, and delivered with calm authority. The exposure was not cruel, it was instructive, highlighting patterns of behavior without shaming anyone unnecessarily. Emotions ran high, but laughter, relief, and understanding quickly replaced guilt and tension. Lorraine had masterfully created a scenario where hidden truths were unveiled naturally, transforming potential conflict into clarity. By exposing these secrets at the right moment, she restored balance, allowing each person to recognize their role in miscommunication and fostering empathy, accountability, and a renewed sense of respect. Once the secrets were out, Lorraine used the opportunity to establish boundaries and lessons for her family. Calmly, she explained how she expected honesty, respect, and consideration moving forward, emphasizing the importance of transparency in relationships. She spoke about the value of observation, awareness, and accountability, highlighting that everyone had a role in maintaining harmony. Her words were measured, firm, yet nurturing, transforming a potentially tense situation into a moment of personal growth. Sophie listened intently, absorbing the guidance without defensiveness. Lorraine's restored hearing had become more than a personal gift. It had empowered her to manage family dynamics, correct misunderstandings, and subtly teach lessons in respect and integrity. By setting boundaries clearly, she ensured the family would operate with greater empathy and awareness in the future. After the revelations, tension slowly dissipated. Apologies were exchanged, laughter returned, and understanding began to replace discomfort. Sophie expressed gratitude and remorse for her hidden resentments, acknowledging the cleverness and patience of her mother. Lorraine listened, accepting the apologies while reinforcing the lessons learned. Guests participated in light conversation, teasing gently, yet showing respect for the resolution. The family atmosphere shifted to warmth and connection, strengthened by the transparency and empowerment Lorraine had cultivated. This reconciliation was quiet yet profound, a testament to patience, strategic observation, and emotional intelligence. Lorraine's subtle guidance had transformed a potentially divisive scenario into a bonding experience, reminding everyone that honesty, awareness, and empathy can heal relationships when handled with tact and grace. As the birthday celebration wound down, the atmosphere was filled with satisfaction, amusement, and newfound respect. Lorraine reflected on the clever orchestration of the day, the surprises, the subtle revelations, and the emotional lessons that had unfolded naturally. Sophie and the guests had not only enjoyed the party, but also experienced the power of perception, awareness, and thoughtful action. Lorraine's empowerment was quiet yet undeniable. She had taught lessons, revealed truths, and maintained dignity and warmth throughout. The celebration was more than a birthday, it was a triumph of intelligence, patience, and subtle justice. Lorraine felt a sense of completion and contentment, knowing that her carefully planned strategy had created lasting impact without conflict or humiliation. Later, Lorraine sat alone, savoring the calm after the whirlwind of events. She reflected on the journey from silence to restored hearing, from observation to revelation, and from secrecy to subtle empowerment. The day had been more than a celebration. It had been a carefully orchestrated lesson in honesty, perception, and dignity. Lorraine realized that her patience, cleverness, and quiet confidence had allowed her to address betrayal, correct misunderstandings, and foster reconciliation. The secret of her restored hearing had become a tool for empowerment and insight, leaving her with a profound sense of triumph. For the first time in years, she felt fully in control of her life, her relationships, and her story, a victory achieved through wisdom, subtlety, and courage.